Hey everybody, let's take a look at how we can do some photo retouching with some of the default tools in Photoshop. All right, so I have a variety of images prepared that will show how these tools work. So first, let's start with Devil Child here that has these red eyes. What are you going to do about it? Well, Photoshop does come with a few tools that can do some of this stuff automatically. So if you look at this picture, and you go over to the sidebar, to the toolbar, and you look for Red Eye tool. There you have it. And it's pretty simple. All you got to do is take that Red Eye tool and really just tap somewhere using the little target on the area that is the little red dot. And look at that. It identified very quickly that that little red eye reflection can be corrected, and it fills in the right color in the pupil. So now our little devil child has become a little angel. Quick and easy. All right, now let's look at this one. This one has a few things wrong with it. First, it was a picture taken in a poorly lit environment, so you got a lot of shadow, a lot of darkness. Also, this is an older picture, so it looks kind of faded and muted, and the red tones have become more obvious, so it's got a little bit of a magenta hue to it. So we have to do a couple fixes. So what we're looking at is first, let's see if we can bring back a little bit of life out of those shadows. Simplest thing to do is going to be to switch over to our darkroom tools, and we'll try dodge on this. And sometimes when you just need to target a little area like this, using something like dodge is really helpful. So I can just paint on his face a little bit here and try to bring some of that lightness back in there. Now this wasn't really in the original photo, but by doing that dodging, I can kind of bring that back a little bit. And I'm just doing some of the areas that should probably stand out and be a little bit lighter. Now I don't want to go crazy on it because if I do it a little bit too much, it'll make it look like it's painted. So I'll kind of back off a little bit. So that brought back that a little bit. But now, you know, it's got too much red. It's a little too pink. So I'm going to go to the edit menu. Sorry, the image menu. I'm going to go to adjustments. And in this case, I'm going to use color balance on it. So I'm going to switch over to color balance. And this is where what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to remove the reddish color. Now, this whole area here, because it's kind of in dark shadow, this is going to be on the shadow or mid-tone side of the scale. So let's start with shadows. I'm going to click shadows here in color balance. And I'm just going to move the slider a little bit to the blue side. I don't really want to go much more than 10%. If I go too far, it'll go kind of extreme. Now on this side of the scale, I want to move it away from magenta because magenta is some of that pinkness. So I might move it toward green, you know, like 10%. And I can try either blue or yellow. I think yellow is a little bit better. Not very much there. So you can see it kind of did a good job of removing some of that pinkness, but there's still quite a bit in his skin tone, and I think that must be in the mid-tone area. So let's do the same thing. Maybe adjust that like 10% negative on the red, 10% positive on the green, kind of bring some of that out. Bring some of that yellow back in. All right, let's take a look at this girl. So the picture's a little bit faded and it has kind of a tear here on the side. So let's see if we can fix that. And for this one, we're going to use the patch tool. So the patch tool does a great job of fixing large areas that need to be repaired. And it's pretty simple. What you do with the patch tool is you just use your mouse and you trace a selection around the area that needs to be repaired. And notice when it does that, it creates kind of a marquee selection around that area. And what happens is you use your mouse and you click inside the selected area and drag. And what you're doing is you're essentially cloning an area of the picture. So by just clicking and dragging upward, you'll see that what it's doing is it's moving the selected area and hiding the area that was broken or torn. When I let go of the mouse, it completes that transition and it blends the two areas together. It covers up the part that needs to be patched and it blends the edges with the surrounding area from the selection. It does a really good job of hiding anything that needs to be fixed. Want to see something really weird? Try this. Let's draw a little patch around her mouth. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, Patrick. Here we go. Take that and drag it down to her neck and then let go. Oh no! So creepy. So you can use the patch tool to cover up a lot. Now look at the picture, the color tone on this one. It's a little bit faded. So let's see what we can do with one of the auto features. If I go to the image menu and I select auto tone, let's see what happens. Great, brought the picture right back. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best. So if you're ever needing to, fix the lighting, fix the contrast in your image, try one of those auto tone, auto contrast features on your image menu. Okay, let's look at this one. Now here we have a fairly large area that's torn on the image. And this is where we could use our cloning stamp. So I'm going to select the cloning stamp. And what the cloning stamp does is it allows you to copy one area of the picture and pretty much paint it in another. So this tool requires you to use your keyboard at the same time. So let's say this whole side area over here needs to be replaced. But I have this repeated pattern over here, these waves, that could easily be repainted and fill in this area because it's kind of got a repeated pattern already. So what I need to do is to prepare my cloning stamp. So first thing what I'll do is select it from the toolbar, and then I need to increase the size of the cloning stamp. So I'm going to use the bracket key on my keyboard and increase the size to something like that. Now, what I'm going to first do is select the area I'm going to copy. And the way you select the area you're going to copy is you hold your Option or your Alt key on your keyboard. And all you do is you click, tap with the mouse, and that essentially sets the target area. So I've let go of the Option key, let go of the Alt key, and I've let go of the mouse. And now I just slide my cursor over, and you can see hovering inside that circle is a representation of the area that I targeted. So now I see what it's going to paint in the repair area. This gives me a little idea of what's copying. Now what's weird about this tool, especially when you start using it the first time, is essentially the brush, the stamp, is tethered to the original selection area. You can kind of see on my screen where there's a little X, a little cross. That's the area that it's copying from. And as I move, it gets tethered to the new area. So, and I haven't let go of the mouse. I'm just clicking and painting. So depending on where you select your original tether point, like if I go up here and I Option click this dude, and I come down here and paint, you'll see that I'm actually tethered to that spot, and it's replacing that part of the picture in the new area. So Pay attention to where you select with the Option or the Alt key, setting up the tether point for your clone stamp. While we're at it, I want to try the Content Aware Move tool. This is a cool little thing inside the retouching tools. So I'm going to select that Content Aware Move tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the little rowboat here. Okay. And then now that rowboat has been selected. Now let's see what happens. Because I have this isolated background that is a lot of water, and I made a pretty decent large selection around it. Let's see what happens if I move this down on my page. See if it goes away. So I moved it, and then I just hit commit or return or the check mark on my window, and Photoshop magic, it moved it. So that's a pretty handy little tool. You can take that whole thing, move it, slide it, and it removes everything. Now, there are some residual effects. These tools aren't, perfect. So notice how it left these little residual effects there. Well, I could probably come back with the cloning stamp now. Pick a tether point. So Option, Alt, click, paint. Pick a new point, Option, Alt, click, paint. Pick a new point, click Option, paint, and kind of replace that. Now, something to keep in mind is these little tools like the cloning stamp or the healing brush or the pattern brush, they do tend, if they're overused, you can really spot them. They tend to blur the picture, or they create little residual patterns on the screen. So you want to pay attention to that as you go along. If you use them too much, it becomes kind of obvious. But in an interesting water pattern like this, the detail edges kind of hide, and so it looks pretty decent. And maybe I want to get rid of this boat up here too, that wake of that board. So let's try using the cloning stamp again. I'm going to Option click down here and go across the whole picture. Boom, just paint it out. Notice how it stopped right there when I got to the edge. That's because the tether ran up to the edge of the photo and there's nothing more for it to paint there. So I'm going to have to reset my Option, Alt point, and paint it away. All right, so pretty good. Cloning stamp, healing brushes, a variety of little tools you can use to make some repairs on your pictures. All right, good luck with that. See you next time.